sport. And I am Michael Bascom, wishing you well weekend as per usual. It's it's much Saturday. It's very the temperature. I don't want to say so much about temperature. It's not bad, especially places like upstate New York in Buffalo, you know, Saturday sports special, and I look forward to discussing with you a number of things, including I've been reading a lot of the social media and the social media pundits about World Cup football, which kicks off, by the way, on Sunday. And, you know, there's so many brackets. It's almost as college basketball in the US, you know. So there's lots of what you call brackets, you know, of who will win the World Cup. And, you know, bear in mind, though, is that we don't really talk about World Cup football at usually around this time of the year, you know. But you know, it's being staged in Qatar, and they're hosting it at this time of the year because of the extreme heat usually they face in the summer months, you know. So it's a bit cooler, they say. They say, even though there's some level of extreme heat in Qatar. But you know, around this time of the year, we're looking at our English Premier League, Spanish League, you know, European football, you know, in earnest. But it's a break for now as we get into the World Cup fever, World Cup football fever. And I know lots and lots of talk going around whether, in fact, I saw one prediction of a Brazil Argentina final, you know. That may be very too early to say, you know, but let's see. We know there are many surprises, okay? I could probably say that, you know, many people are hoping that, for example, in the T20 World Cup, West Indies could have been probably in the semi-final or probably the final, you know, you know. And they didn't even get out of their qualifying zone. So lots of surprises in store. And there's also talk previously about a proposed um, Inter-Parish Games. And I'm speaking about Grenada, right? Inter-Parish Games. We will talk a little more about it and hear what you think about this Inter-Parish Games, where a couple of sporting events among the parishes, even though, you know, some may not all of the parishes may be able to compete in all of the sporting events, but I think it's a nice idea, and it's one way of ensuring that the various sporting disciplines are competed throughout the length and breadth of the state of Grenada. Um, so if, for example, 5 sporting events as a start, it means that all the sporting events, there must be competitors from all the parishes participating in all the sporting events. So it's one way too of ensuring that even facilities, you know, whether it's multi-purpose, um, you know, sporting facility that can host basketball and volleyball and netball, you know, and things like that. So it means, therefore, that whether you're from St. Andrew or you're from St. David or you're from Carriacou and PD Martinique, you can participate as well because you have the facilities, you know. So it's a nice way of ensuring that there are facilities available for, you know, uh, sportsmen and sportswomen, not just from if you're from St. George, or not just if you're from, let's say, St. Andrew, but whether you're from St. Patrick or you're from St. David or you're from Carriacou, you know, that is one way of, you know, getting involved and participating in Inter-Parish Games, right? And there've been talk about the sports council, the parish sports council. So it's probably one way of getting the parish sports councils to get, sporting activities. So they will have their sporting activities within the parish, and then at some stage, whether it's every year, every 2 years, you have what you call the inter-parish games. So, for example, let's use an example. Football is a sport that is played, in basically all of the parishes, including Carriacou. When I say parishes, I'm speaking about Carriacou and Pinimat League too, right? So cricket is another one. Track and field is another one. So that's at least three we have already. Netball, a possibility, even though, or let's say basketball for now. Basketball, right? Um, you know, and probably netball. That's probably a fifth one. I don't want to put in too much like swimming and tennis. Probably table tennis might be one. But, when you look at the tennis, as lawn tennis, you have the problem where it's only when you look at the tennis courts available, where the tennis courts are available in terms of Grenada. But you probably can have swimming as open water swimming tournament, open water, we have we don't have the pools available in in the various parishes, and I'm not certain there's any individual with you know large size pools that they can use. So open water could be a good way of having the swimming, for example. As we speak, today is the open water swimming tournament in Grenada, and I'm certain they have participants from all over Grenada. So open water is open water. It's on the beach, So I'm certain the folks in St. John, for example, or St. Mark, and even St. Andrew, we look forward to something like that. Everyone believe that there's a good swimmer. Hi, good afternoon, Donna, and good afternoon, Gordon as well, and Mona. Nice to see you around, certainly. But at inter-parish games, I think it's a good idea, and it's something that we can be pushing. Just as how I'm pushing the sports policy, I think the inter-parish games is something we can look at, and we can call it probably the Grenada Games, for example, but it's the inter-parish, where the folks from the various parishes. So you have at the end of it, you have bragging rights, but you can start off with manageable, some sporting events, probably 4 or 5, where you will have participation from all of the parishes. And then, as it develops in latter years, you can probably add more sporting discipline. Certainly, I know the folks from Carriacou may just want to say, hey, boxing is one that we may want to put in, They're strong in boxing, by the way, But I think it's somewhere we can go to ensure that we also give folks the ability and the opportunity, I should say, rather, to participate, because there isn't much organized sports outside of the school system in Grenada. I mean, we have to be real about that. Okay. And by doing that, you also will be able to strengthen the club structure. So you will encourage the formation of more sporting clubs and better structure, etc., because they know, for example, you have a club like, let's say, Hurricane. I'm just using that as an example. And Hurricane will not just, it's a sporting club, but they will not just have a football team. They will have probably a netball team, a cricket team. So you have a better structure. And I say that because that is what it was in the 70s and part of the 80s. We had clubs. And these clubs had various sporting teams. So I know growing up in River Road. Queen's Park Rangers, for example, was not just football. Queen's Park Rangers even had a female, a women's cricket team. So they had football, they had netball, they had a women's cricket team. They also had a track and field team that participated in the Whitsuntide Games, for example. So it wasn't just, after a while, it was just netball and football, primarily netball and football. But when you have these sort of games, as they call it, inter-parish games, it you ensure that more clubs are strengthened in the parishes, and they will be able to participate in more sporting discipline and give the opportunity for more people to participate as well. As I indicated, we know that sports in Grenada, and competitive sports in particular, I would say, mainly among school children. Even when you look at, let's say, the GFA, for example, the Premier League, a number of the players playing for the various teams in the GFA are from the schools. If you look at it, they're schoolboys. Yeah, they're schoolboys. And I believe we can encourage more, well, if you want to say adults, to participate as well, and I think it will augurs well for the development of sports as well, and we know we have the problem of where after you leave secondary school and you get into, let's use an example, tertiary education in Grenada, whether it's TAM-CC, or NULO, or even St. George's University, the opportunity for you to continue participating in sports is minimal because there isn't that structure there. However, with the inter-parish games and things like that, so through the Parish Sports Council, etc., there's an opportunity for you to continue participating in sports, being active, So whether it's cricket, whether it's football, and by the way, this is not taking away anything from the organized GFA, organized GNA, but I think also it will push them to continue organizing sports. For example, when last we have had volleyball, a national volleyball tournament, I haven't heard anything from Volleyball Association, for example. I've been trying to get some information from volleyball. I was promised, that I'll get back to you, regarding, and that's, I can tell you it's almost 2 months now, um, you know, and it brings me to the point where, to some extent, we have to hold some of these sporting bodies accountable. We have to hold them accountable. Yes, Donna. Yes, we do used to have the Eastern Games. I remember the Eastern Games in Grenville, but basically track and field. But I want to go beyond, the one sporting, event, because not everyone might be involved in track and field. But you can have, but yeah, that's something that you rightly speaking about there, the Eastern Games, for example, in Grenville, and you can get more participation, when you have the inter-parish game. So you look forward to the track and field, you look for fans for track and field, look forward to that. The football fans are not left out because they know, football coming up soon, and we'll have inter-parish cricket, inter-parish football. I recall some years ago too, we had to some extent some inter-parish football, but by the way, it was only around independence. We used to have those independence games, and we have football and cricket and thing. But we want to bring in some more competitiveness, and I think you will have more participation. You will have more participation from folks, and I am certain not just as competitors but also as spectators. We start to, and by the way, it means that you will also be bringing some of the sporting activities into the villages, the communities, you know. For example, a cricket clash between St. Andrew and St. David being played at Ladigue, for example, or Moncton hosting, so it will be left up to the parishes and thing to organize their schedule and fixture, and these sort of things. And I think, thinking about it, I thought about it, and when I think about these things, I like to, share these ideas with you, and hopefully they get some traction. Good afternoon to you, Inspector Alan James. Yes, good afternoon to you, and nice seeing you there. What happened to the junior league football that was once popular in Grenada among the primary schools? Junior league football, yeah. That's again. I think over the years we have lost a lot of the stigma for sports. We talk a lot, by the way. We get a lot of people talking sports. We talk a lot about international sports to an extent. We talk a lot of international sports. We support a lot of international sports too. It's easier to get someone in Grenada to look at no pun there, a Manchester United versus a Manchester City football game than probably to look at a police, that's Royal with the Police versus a Queen's Park Rangers. There's no if and but about that. I know I'm pulling the legs of Inspector Alan James because he's a diehard Manchester United fan, like me, a diehard Manchester City fan. And likewise, he represents the Royal Grenada Police Force in football, and I'm a diehard supporter of Queen's Park Rangers in football. So I just pulling his legs with that. But on a serious note, we have a lot of fans. A lot of Grenadians and by and large in the Caribbean, they talk a lot of sports. And they're television supporters. Bring the event to them, and I don't want to use the word, but they are no show. Yeah, just a no show. So, for example, West Indies cricket. Every spectator believes he or she has the answer to West Indies cricket. They know who should play and who shouldn't play, who should be selected, who shouldn't be selected, who should be the batsman, who should be the bowler, etc., etc. Bring the cricket match to a venue near to them, and they're not supported. They're not there. They're just big talkers, and folks, we're guilty of that, So whether it's cricket, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, big supporters of NBA basketball, but they will never support basketball in the villages, basketball at home, So you add into the fun and excitement of NBA basketball, and you are the ones pushing and making stars of the NBA players, but you're not doing that for even those that have the talent, those that striving to be, to be there, and so when you have that sort of support at home, it always encourages you, So that's what I'm talking about. Yes, basketball in the days of Braggart's, Patrick Simmons, Ulrich School, football where we had Trenchtown and other football clubs. I think you're referring to sports in St. Andrew, Donna, if I'm not mistaken, because the names you call are relevant to that of St. Andrew, right? When you say Trenchtown and other football clubs, that's because I recall many years ago the likes of Claudius George with cricket in particular, even though he used to do football, he used to be a official of football as well. And then you had Peter Blair in cricket. And, by the way, both guys used to be in both football and cricket. But I'm speaking primarily. So Peter Blair used to be giving us the roundup on football in St. Andrews Football League, for example. And Claudius George will give us the roundup for cricket. And I recall many years ago, even more than 20 years ago, 25 years ago, being at you remember you had YSFM radio, and on a weekend they used to have the total sports coverage, and it used to be especially on a Sunday in particular. So Saturday afternoon you get a little roundup like around 4 o'clock you start getting something, and then on Sunday you get the total coverage where you getting updates from around the parish of St. Andrew, right? Updates on cricket. And sometimes you used to have as many as 10, sometimes 15 matches being played around the parish. And you're moving from one, not commentator, but from one reporter who's bringing in the report to the next, giving an update, whether it's from Mount Horn or, by the way, that's how I got to know places in St. Andrews, for example, and teams, for example, Tilleries and, and all these other teams and things like that. So, and then you had, that's from Claudius George used to coordinate that. And then you also had the football from the St. Andrews Football League, with Peter Blair used to coordinate that, and getting updates, and you get to know a lot of the players in terms of the footballers and the cricketers in terms of the cricket around St. Andrews. A lot of the national players from St. Andrews used to actually play in the local league, as we call it. They're playing for their home team. Raw Lewis, for example, playing for Union, and you had Beef and Steve Mahon and all these other guys playing in the in the local league, So I'm certain that and then, by the way, and those guys after playing for their leagues used to make the parish team, for example. So St. Andrew, for example, used to be a powerhouse in cricket and to some extent a powerhouse in football in those days. And then you also had St. David, who was also a powerhouse in cricket. So there used to be a clash sometime between St. Andrew and St. David when it comes to cricket. And then you also had St. Andrew with strong in track and field, especially from the exploit of St. Andrew's Anglican Secondary School, SAS. So I'm certain with Inter-Parish Games, which could be the climax, of all the various activities within the parish, that will be mega, I'm telling you. And if any of the MPs are listening or tuning in, that could be something that you can get into your constituency, for example. It doesn't have to be a government thing. So it can be, I represent this constituency and I'm trying to organize something within the constituency and think through sports. There's nothing wrong in that, So I think these are the sort of things that can be done. As a matter of fact, I was going through some of the, just before my program or sometime, give a browse in social media, see what's happening. And I was telling some of my folks that there seems to be a transformation in the South, the south of the island. And I was saying that just as how when you in North America, in the US, for example, everyone wants to move to the South, it seems as if when it comes to Grenada, everyone may want to move to the South because there's a big transformation when it comes, especially in sports. Yeah? And by the way, you may not be seeing a lot now, but within the next few weeks and months, I'm certain you'll see a lot of organization is taking place, mobilizing is taking place in the South, right? Through the various groups that have been organized, there are clubs that have been organized, both sporting and cultural, right? So you'll see a lot of transformation taking place in the South because I think what is happening now is that they are laying the foundation, they're laying the basis, organizing these clubs and, organizations and things like that. So putting the structure in place so that they can be get going. Hey, good afternoon to you, Kelvin Hector, Coco Shot. Yes, man. We have to find out what's happening sooner or later. We have to do an update. It has been a while. We have to find out what's happening up in the Northwest, especially as it relates to football. As you know, Coco Shot, even though he always threatened to give it up, but he has it in his blood. And that's the thing with some folks, they have it in their blood. So as much as they will want to give up, they'll probably sit down and think about it and say, I'm not doing that for myself. I'm doing that for the folks. I'm trying to help them. So I'll be around for another year. And it's how many years now Coco Shot is saying he's giving it up, but he's still there. He's fighting on, organizing. Thank you for all your service in the Northwest, Coco Shot, especially as it comes to football. So we'll have to talk sometime in the coming weeks, probably early in the new year. We'll have to talk about what's in store, what probably you're planning, whatever it is like that. Even if you're telling me that you hand it over to someone, we need to know what's going on. Donna, yes, historically, cricket especially will come from St. Patrick down to St. David, even when we had matches playing in the old Queen's Park with regional teams like Combined Islands, Barbados, Leeward Islands. The spectators came from those three parishes. Yeah. What Donna is saying is correct. We have had over the years, when it comes to supporting, especially cricket, the folks from I will give them that credit, St. Andrew and St. David, when it comes to cricket support. Yeah, they give a lot of support. I'll use cricket as that example to start off with. Many times when you have these cricket matches, and as she said, Combined Islands, Windward Islands, etc., when they were playing, and the folks from, as they say, the countryside will be coming down in their droves, in the wooden buses, early in the morning, and they come in with their baskets and things like that. So, with their meal prepared and things like that, and getting in, as you said, the old Queen's Park and occupying their place on the bleachers and things like that. So, I remember that. And they will stay there for the entire day once there is no rain, and they have their basket with all their meals and things like that. So, and sometimes all they need to do, sometimes, is to get their drinks. But sometimes they used to have their drinks, and in those times, there's nothing about you cannot come in with your food and things like that. So there are a lot of restrictions now when you go to these, sporting events and things like that. So in terms of what is restricted and things like that, and you could come with your umbrella and, in case a lot of sun and things like that. So, and these folks will be there, for the entire day, and they'll have the kids with them too, and that used to be how they were supporting cricket in particular. And I say cricket. Then of lately, I realized when it comes to track and field, both St. Andrew and St. David, in particular St. David, and I think it's through the exploits of the St. David's Catholic Secondary School, they will be there in their numbers, supporting track and field. And sometimes I ask a question, if you have so much of support from these parishes when it comes to cricket and track and field, in hindsight, you will think, why it is these parishes didn't get the sort of facilities that we have in, the city. And, sometimes they will say, when you have these international facilities, there are certain guidelines, by the way, that you need to adhere to in terms of certain facilities, like the proximity to medical, for example, the proximity to the airport. These are some of the factors they use. If you have these international facilities and to host international sporting events, so in case of an emergency, what is the distance to get to the nearest medical facility, and the medical facility with certain medical equipment, the requirements, etc., etc. So that's why when you host in these games, they will have the people who will come in and do the field inspection. They'll do the inspection, as they call it, the field visit, because these are the things they will look at. In case of an emergency, how quickly can you get to the nearest medical facility with, you know, with the requirement, etc. In case of evacuation, how quickly can you get to the airport, the international airport? You know, these sort of things. So there are a lot of things that you may not know, and you might just say, "Oh, it should go there and it should go there." But when it comes to these sort of things, they look at that. But barring that, it doesn't negate the fact that places like St. David and St. Andrew, they need facilities, and it needs, you know, a real upgraded facility. You know, it may not probably what you consider to be international, you know, size. And by the way, we always say that, you know, you don't need to build these big concrete structure. When you go to the United States, for example, and the colleges and things, yeah. If, for example, you look at track and field, a lot of the facilities, they are prefab bleachers. So they have the track and prefab bleachers around, and they install that and they break that down and move it somewhere, etc., etc. You know, except for the American football, where the colleges have their own stadium where they can hold, you know, seat in excess of 70, 80, 90,000. The whole parts of California, for example, and you know they have the 90-seater stadium and things like that. So for American football and things like that. So, you know, and some of the colleges do own those things, you know. But, you know, places like St. David and St. Andrew in particular, I believe it's time for them to get something, you know. They have been supporting sports for quite a while. Good afternoon to you, Toro. Bas, don't forget to give a special hail up to Canada's men's team as they begin the campaign to take in home the 2022 FIFA World Cup title. I was planning to go there in a while, Toro, but not so much on Canada, but just the, the FIFA Men's World Cup, which opens um, Sunday. Yeah, tomorrow. Kicks off tomorrow. Yeah. And I was saying in the intro, the you know, a lot of talk already about who will get into the final. Your good friend um Mona, Richard Mona is, you know, already tooting Argentina. I saw um some brackets with Argentina, um Brazil final. And see someone is saying Brazil, you know. But listen, there are always surprises. You know, Toro is talking about Canada, for example. You know, yeah, he supports his Canadians, and Canada, by the way, deserves to be in the World Cup. You know, when you look at where they have come from, both men and women, and the sort of investment, by the way, they have put into the development of football, like the United States. Say, you know, there are a lot of people who hate the United States, but when it comes to the investment, you know, you cannot beat them for that. They make the you know, the investment into the sport and the grassroots in particular. On any given day in the across the North America, not just the United States. And even though we into the winter months now, there are hundreds of indoor facilities, and the kids are in there. You know, it's cold here in New York, but bet you there are kids, you know, playing football somewhere indoor, and to some extent they may be just doing a little thing drill and thing for a few minutes or whatever, depending on how cold it is on the outside, on some field somewhere, playing with gloves and whatever you and thing like that. So, but it's a sort of investment they have made over the years. Look at the MLS, for example. I recall in 2013 I attended a, a CONCACAF session in the Cayman Islands. And the MLS made a presentation, and they were talking about the projected growth of the MLS over a period of 10, 20 years, etc. And I'm telling you, just as what they were talking about, and to some extent, I think it would have outgrow the projections, and it's the investment and the confidence they have. And also with Canada, for example, the sort of investment they're making into the grassroots programs. And I keep saying that we have our young footballers, female footballers, for example, going out, getting the experience, playing, whatever it is like that. So being humiliated. And by the way, there are folks now who are on the current executive of the Grenada Football Association who were critical. I'm telling you, on social media, they post, I sure certain I could go and find it if they didn't delete it yet, of the comments they were making about the girls when they were playing and being humiliated. And they was explaining that, hey, it's a process. When the United States and Canada and them started to play and started playing international football, they were getting the 13 and the 15 and all these other things. It helps in the confidence and things like that. So, and there were more support from, the parents and the football fans and the football associations and things like that. So, and I'm saying that's the case of Grenada. It's a learning process, and all you need to do is to continue supporting. And they were humiliating those girls. And some of them are on the executive of the Grenada Football Association. No, I wouldn't do it now, but I can, point them out. How do you develop football or develop sports? Let's just say sports generally. When you want to be part of a process, but in being part of the process, you're humiliating these youngsters. There must be a start. They must start somewhere. As much as they will train for years, and you talk about grassroots, at some point they have to go to the next level, and that will only build their confidence. Let me get some more comments. I'll come back to that. Argentina could win if Messi shows up to the World Cup for the first time. Brazil could win too if Neymar plays and doesn't throw himself down on the field with every tackle and looking for sympathy from the referees. That is well documented, and I believe the referees may be looking forward to that. They may be looking out for that. You never know. It has been a lot of talk about that. Let me see. Michael Sports died in the outer parishes. Let me get it back. Yeah. Because the policies were set and mandated or manipulated by the bigwigs in St. George's. Up till this day, where instead of strengthening sports from the grassroots level, they are fighting all the other parishes. Yep. Got your point, Donna. There have always been this talk about, the problems that the parishes, and let's say outer parishes outside of St. George's, they have been facing. And certainly, I believe that the comments may have some merit, may have some merit. Yeah. So going back to the point of the World Cup. By the way, let's just stay on the World Cup because I wanted to get there is some comments that were made by the FIFA president, Infantino. And apparently, within minutes, by the way, is the BBC Sports posted these comments on their Facebook page. And I came across it about 2 minutes after being posted. And then somehow I tried to check it again using a different device, and it was not available. But a smart person like me, I got it. I was able to retrieve the original. I will get it for you, and it's kind of interesting in what exactly he said there, and whether or not that may have some repercussions, and what it is he was really trying to get at, because a lot of things are happening. We realize a lot of things happening now on the eve, like for example the no beers and things like that was announced on the eve of the World Cup, and certainly took this sponsors Budweiser by surprise, one of the main sponsors I should say, by surprise. But let me just get what he said, and then we'll that's the president of FIFA, and then we'll come back.
Very strong feelings. I can tell you that. I feel Qatari. Today I feel Arab. Today I feel African. Today I feel gay. Today I feel a migrant worker. I think for what we Europeans have been doing in the last 3,000 years around the world, we should be apologizing for the next 3,000 years before starting to give moral lessons. And while many things are not perfect, reform and change takes time. It took hundreds of years in our country. This moral lesson giving, one-sided, it's just hypocrisy.
I just briefly, he said a lot at the end, but to quote, today I feel Qatari, I feel Arab, I feel African, I feel gay, I feel disabled, I feel a migrant worker. From the president of FIFA, Gianni Infantino. I don't know if there are regrets. Well, I'm just saying I don't know why the BBC removed it after, but it's not available on the BBC Sports page again. And they were basically, saying that here is what FIFA President Gianni Infantino had to say on the eve of the World Cup. And the folks in Qatar, they take these things very serious, So it's left to see what sort of repercussions, that will have, but it's said already. Let's see. Toro is saying Uncle Jack Warner gonna get a break from getting licks from Western media for the next 2 weeks. Instead, they go be putting some good blows in Qatar. And talking about Uncle Jack Warner, I guess as much you heard about Jack Warner losing his appeal at the Privy Council, but it appears that he will be trying to exhaust all other legal means. So we'll have to stay tuned, for that, because he had already, he took it to the Privy Council because he lost all legal options in Trinidad and Tobago. So let's see what would happen on that. Okay, yeah, Mona is saying, I think that is going to have a backlash. Mona, yeah. On the eve, making such comments, I'm wondering, what how rather the Qatari will take this, these comments from the FIFA president, because there are so many restrictions already, but then again, FIFA should understand that and should know that, and I mean, it's not last year, Qatar won the rights to host the World Cup. They have been planning that for years. They knew that many years ago. So all the various, and by the way, you talk about the migrant workers, because we know that there have been a lot of issues regarding workers, migrant workers. And by the way, there are a lot of folks migrants who have died during the construction phase of all the stadia in Qatar. And my hope is that the World Cup will be dedicated to some of these, to these workers who lost their lives, because a lot of the conditions were horrible, especially those in Africa. I'm talking about the workers from Africa in particular. I looked at a feature on the BBC a few days ago, and they were speaking to some of the family members of people who have died, and to tell you, it's in the hundreds, over the period of time, in the hundreds. Could you imagine preparing and during the construction phase of, let's say, the World Cup in the United States, and you have hundreds of workers who died over a period of time? It must be a cause for concern. This going through, Senate hearings and all sorts of things, probably after 2-3 deaths, it's sad. Let me say good afternoon to Rudian. Rudian, good afternoon to you, and
Hey, good
welcome.
afternoon. How you doing, man? I get mixed up with the time. I forgot about the time change. So my phone was downstairs and I didn't realize. I was prepping for 1 o'clock, forgetting that the time change.
Time has changed. We into the daylight saving time.
Daylight saving time. But even tapping in on what you just said, I heard stories of many, not only for the World Cup, but even Olympics, where a lot of they're bringing in migrants who die during preparing for Olympics and World Cup and other big major events that takes maybe 8 years for them to put it together, right? So it's a fact that things like that happen. You see, same thing happened in Brazil. There was a stall at one time in Brazil in what was happening when they was doing the Olympics. So it's a lot. I've seen a lot of migrants do passed away or do die on the work field based on when they start building those major events coming to the country. So
you're right. You're right about that. And sometimes because in this case we have the migrants, a lot of them coming from Africa.
Yep.
We have from other places too, but mainly from Africa, and they're looking for jobs and things like that. So, and to some extent, they see it as cheap labor.
Yeah.
These things just pass, and I looked at that feature, and and like the family members were saying that in some cases there were a few cases where they didn't even get a body to bury. It's sad, and no form of compensation, and these sort of things like that.
Well, it is definitely sad. I mean, dealing with you most likely will have a lot of Hispanic now heading to California, a day for LA for the next Olympics, and I'm pretty sure they probably started on the project already, where they're going to bring in migrants, which is the same concept, right? So
and I'm looking at some of the comments there, and one was saying the no sale of alcohol in Qatar is also due to their religious belief. But I am saying that I'm certain that FIFA may have have hints that something like that, probably not on the eve, but based on religious beliefs and things like that. So that we should expect something like that. And, it could have been something where they were worked out, because, for example, I'm seeing where they said that the referees, for example, especially the female referees, they are not really affected by, the attire and things like that. So, because, in some of these countries, you have to, the female in particular, they cannot, wear shorts and open, and these sort of things like that. So, but I'm certain you will not see the female referees in skirts and dresses running around on the field. So there have been some leeway.
Yeah, no, and it is, because it is certainly a challenge. Definitely, when you're into another country, especially in a big event like that, they have the rules and they have the laws, and then you have in a major event where you have someone coming in who is not accustomed to those rules and those laws. And if you don't, like, for example, you have to know before you go. I had a friend who almost got arrested in Dubai because she was chewing gum on the train. Literally, she was chewing gum on the train, and you're not allowed to chew gum. But if you don't know the rules of this country before you go in, then you're in big trouble. You're in big trouble, and just from not even knowing the rules, and that's big jail time. That's jail time, So it's not a good thing. But even going back with the alcohol, here in Canada, there was talks of changing the rules or the law to sell alcohol earlier than, I think, 11 or 12 o'clock that they do here, because some games going to be at 8 o'clock.
And that would be at the bars. That would be at the bars and things,
at the bars and so forth, when the bars open, sports bars and the other places open, right? Because the games is at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's coffee time, it's tea time, it's not beer time, right? So time difference do change. But there was talk. I don't know how far it went, but there was talk, because to them, alcohol is a big thing, and it's a big money thing, right?
And it's a big thing for the next 2 weeks for the bars, the sports bars in particular, because I assume they have all their monitors,
everything. Yeah.
Even though, well, the time, as you say, the time will not really conflict with the other sports like football, NFL, and basketball, and things like that. Yeah. So I think there's one game that might be a bit later in terms of 12 o'clock or something like that, but mainly most of the matches will be played around morning time.
Time difference, right? So
the time difference. Mona is saying that from a moral aspect, he should not have said the things that was said, and you're referring to Gianni Infantino, the president of FIFA. I don't know if he's trying to appeal or reach out to the various sectors, like, as he said, he's a gay. He says, I'm a migrant worker. He says, I'm a Qatari, all these sort of things. So we'll go back to it again and talk about it. And Donna was saying those migrant workers were treated like animals, from their living conditions to meal hours of work. The kind of jobs that they had these workers doing, it was exhausting on those people's bodies. Let me just get that thing again so we can, listen and hear what they say.
Very strong feelings. Today I feel Qatari. Today I feel Arab. Today I feel African. Today I feel gay. I feel disabled. Today I feel a migrant worker. I think for what we Europeans have been doing in the last 3,000 years around the world, we should be apologizing for the next 3,000 years before starting to give moral lessons. And whilst many, many things are not perfect, reform and change takes time. It took hundreds of years in our country. This moral lesson giving, one-sided democracy.
He says it's just hypocrisy, and by the way, he's also trying to probably I don't know if it's apologize to the Western, well, you call it hypocrisy, I don't know if it was an apology for slavery as well, but it's interesting, what he had to say there. Toro is saying, point Rudy, and part of the fury with Qatar is that the Brits are still mad they didn't get to host the World Cup. And the Brits and the Americans are blaming Uncle Jack Warner and want him put away. Too much beer and rum drinking and bad behavior at some sporting events anyway, especially at English football. And I think that is part of the issue regarding the English. I mean, we know that. History has shown that when it comes to football and hooliganism among English soccer, well, football fans in particular, it is rampant. We can't say that for Brazil and Argentina and things like that. So, but when it comes to England, and I think the Germans have that, but Russia is not in the World Cup. So,
no, I'm going to give 3 countries. I'm going to give England, France, and Spain.
In terms of hooliganism.
In terms of the hooligans, yes, they are fans. They are fans.
I will put England and Germany in that. I would put the Germans.
But they are fans right
French,
now. Yeah, they are fans right now who, whenever England and France is playing, depending on which country and vice versa on the country, they have to give up their passport. They cannot travel to England or travel to France.
Well,
they have some fans who have been banned from games.
Right. Yeah, they have fans who and they are banned for various reasons. Not just the hooliganism, but there are those who have been banned due to racist comments and the anti-discriminatory commission of FIFA, etc. Things like that. So these are fans who cannot. One, they cannot purchase tickets, and their names will be into the system in terms of traveling. So even if they decide, hey, I know I can't get into the stadium, I wouldn't be able to purchase a ticket to go to watch the game, but I'll probably just go online. They cannot get there because they would not gain entry into the country because they are blacklisted. They would not be able to purchase a ticket to travel to Qatar.
So when I just listen to FIFA, this is what I take from that comment, and I heard it before, but this is what I take from it. And my point is he, like you asked the question, is he apologizing? But he said, today I feel like them. Well, what about yesterday? Like, as in your position, what did you do? So sometimes, the question to ask, did you do something and then come in and speak about it now? Or do you say, well, I tried to do something, nothing get done, so today I feel like them? So,
well, sometimes that's the opportunity for them. That's the world stage. Probably it didn't matter. Even if you had said it before, it may not have get the traction that you're getting now. Sometimes I could just say that it probably is tactical, because if he had said that probably a month ago, it may not have get the traction that it's getting because we're into the World Cup fever now. So it gets the sort of traction it should be getting. I don't know what was the question or what led for him to say that. I just got wholesale. That's how I got it from the BBC Sport. And as I said, it's no longer available on the BBC Facebook page where I saw it. I don't know if they will return, but it shows that it's unavailable. But I was just lucky to get it before it was removed. It shows that the content was removed. It just happened that I was just on target, to get it there. It's just about 1 o'clock Eastern time, 2 o'clock Eastern Caribbean time. But because it got mixed up a bit, I will just go a little extra to add some things, because I started off by talking about the Inter-Parish Games. Let me see what Toro is speaking about there, and then I'll come back to the Inter-Parish Games. and then we'll have to end on the World Cup as well. There is corruption in all international sporting organizations. They have money to waste, and the top officials overpay themselves. The corruption is mostly highlighted when it's non-Europeans involved and when those accused are non-Europeans. When was the last time you heard Blatter or Platini name and their thieving at FIFA? But almost every day there's something about Uncle Jack Warner as they try to make the black Trini fella the poster child for corruption in world football. Well, Toro, yes, to an extent. I mean, as a matter of fact, as you will say, both Blatter and Platini got a slap on the wrist, if we follow what was the case recently, where even though they may be serving the ban or bans, no jail time for them. But as they say, they're still seeking Jack Warner, and as some say, it could be all because of countries had their fallout with Jack Warner, and someone commented on a previous thing about Jack. He said that Jack was talking too much, and he, Jack was frank. I mean, give him that. Jack was frank, and he said what he has to say. He doesn't hold back. Jack is the kind of guy that will punch a guy. He'll punch him, and if he tells you he'll punch you, he'll punch you. So I've came across Jack Warner many times during his tenure, right? Personally as well, in his presence at CONCACAF and FIFA activities and things like that. And I'm telling you, Jack he's a very witty guy, very witty. And some may say that Jack did a lot of wrong things, and others may say he did a lot of wrong things to correct a lot of wrong things. he did a lot of wrong things to correct a lot of wrong things. And if wasn't for the Jack Warner that we have belittled, the Caribbean and the CONCACAF region would not have been the powerhouse. I think Jack gave them a voice. We have to give him credit for that. He gave them a voice, right? And we may not agree with all that he has done, but we must give him credit for what he did. He gave CONCACAF a voice. And also, Jack gave the opportunity, or he gave opportunities to a lot of whether it's referees, coaches, administrators, to become FIFA officials, And it's all because of Jack was saying, it's our time, Yes, the money part of it, I'm not too au fait with that. I don't know all the details about that, but I can tell you tangible things with FIFA. Some of them are current FIFA officials, by the way, and they were able to get where they are through the exploits of Jack Warner. Rudian, what you were saying before we go back and...
No, definitely, and I totally agree with what you're saying, 100%. Like I said, he could do a lot of things wrong correctly, or try to correct some wrong, or try to, So I totally agree in what you said. But it'll be interesting to see how this World Cup turn out, because the next one will be in 3 countries. So we're gonna see how that will work out, because it will be between Canada, Mexico, and the US, right? So it'll be interesting to see how that one works out, and how they look at it. If they take ideas from what they do or there to change things, or they change rules, or they change certain things. But it'll be interesting to see.
Well, remember, and this one is going down in history as one of the most expensive.
Yeah.
They did a lot of infrastructure work and things like that. So, and it's left to see in the legacy of some of the facilities as well. I know they have plans to some of the stadia, transform them into other things, and in some instances you have apartments, complex, just like the Olympics, as things like that. So we during the World Cup, Cricket World Cup in the Caribbean, we had the issue with the cruise ship, for example, the floating hotel. We had that And I'm seeing that likewise in the case of Qatar, where they have the floating hotel, the big cruise ship that will host thousands of visitors as well. Toro did say in one of his comments that they would not have been more CONCACAF and African teams participating in the World Cup without Jack Warner. He spoke on behalf of Africa and CONCACAF, and it's why Jack Warner was King Jack Warner for the Africans and for the CONCACAF region during those periods, because he spoke on behalf of them. And I think by and large, he still has that level of support. When you look at it, Jack still has that sort of support from the Caribbean region and the African region. Certainly, the American media is not a fan of Jack Warner, Chuck Blazer, may his soul rest in peace, was one of those. He's American, but he died. In fact, he died before he actually served time. He was one of those guys too, and he died before he served any time. And then we also had from the Cayman Islands, trying to remember his name. He was the president after Jack. He was the president of CONCACAF, and he too fell into some problems. His name just slipped me there. His name came to mind, but from the Cayman Islands, Weber. Was it? I think was Jeffrey Weber. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, but he too fell into some problems. And it was just one after the other after Jack Warner. Yeah. So I started off by talking about the Inter-Parish Games. I said that one of the, we talk a lot about the National Sports Council, the Parish Sports Councils, and things like that. So, and I made the point that good afternoon to you, Theo Duncan. Good afternoon, Theo, my good friend Theo. That competitive sports in Grenada is by and large school-based. And gone are the days where, and Toro may be able to chime in on that as well, where you had clubs back in the 60s and the 70s and even sometime in the 80s, you had clubs where, and when I talk about a club, you had, and I use Queen's Park Rangers as an example, because I used to attend club meetings. And it was not just football for Queen's Park Rangers, but they also had a women's cricket team. There was one year Queen's Park Rangers participated in Whitsuntide Games because they had a track and field team, and other sport. Even not too long ago, a few years ago, Queen's Park Rangers even had a basketball team. So you had a club structure where within the club you have sporting teams. And gone are those days where now we just have teams. You have a football team, you have a cricket team, just go and participate. And I'm saying, when you leave secondary school, and because we do not have proper sporting structure within the tertiary institutions in Grenada, albeit the T.A. Marshall Community College, New Law, St. George's University, etc., you basically you on your own, And if you're not a schoolboy that could participate in intercall and secondary school football, etc., that's it, by and large. Because even to some of the sporting, when you look at, for example, the GFA Premier League, a lot of the players now playing Premier League are actually schoolboys. There isn't that appeal for when the Richard Mona and the Toro and guys, after leaving school, they were still playing for Carnage and, things like that. So gone are those days. The schoolboys are playing for Carnage and, and things like that. So one of the things that can encourage getting folks back into playing at club level, and it's not taking anything away from the organized, whether it's GFA and things like that. So is to have what you call the inter-parish games. So I using St. Andrew as an example, or St. Patrick. they will have competitions within the parish as well, whether it's football, basketball, blah, blah. And then you will have what at the national level, the Grenada Games we'll call it, but it's at the inter-parish level. So St. Andrew against St. Patrick, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, you have bragging rights, you know. So whether you playing for Carnage and you can make the St. George's football team or the St. George's basketball team, you know, and things like that. So, and you identify a number of sporting disciplines because we cannot leave out our friends in Carriacou and PD Martinique. So you identify probably 4 or 5 sporting disciplines that can involve all the parishes for now. And I said, for example, swimming, because of the lack of facilities, we can have open water swimming events. As I said, as we speak, we have the open water swimming tournament taking place in Grenada today. Now, open water means that you could have it in Guelph, you could have it in St. Andrew at one of the beaches, you know, open water, you know, and things like that. So you give everyone the opportunity to participate when it comes to swimming, not necessarily in the pool, because we know open water is part now of these activities, you know, even at the Caribbean level. And by doing the open water is a step in encouraging them to even participate in swimming as a sport in the pool, you know, and things like that. So, and then you have track and field, you have football, you have cricket, because these are played in basketball and probably netball, you know. And then we can always add other games. We can look at probably table tennis, for example. I don't want to hit in boxing for now because I know the folks on Carriacou will be on top of that. And you don't want to leave anyone out. But, you know, you can start, you know, adding more and more sporting events, because what you're doing by and large, you're encouraging the authorities also to upgrade facilities and see the need for, you know, installing facilities, etc., etc. What's your take on that? Torres saying true, Carnage at one point participated in football, netball, basketball, road race, and water polo, for example. Yeah, I remember water polo used to be a big event on the Carnage Easter Water Parade, you know, and the multi-dimensional sport club seemed to be a thing of the past. Yeah, sad, you know. But yeah, Rudian?
Well, a few things. I have a proposal right now in my house for St. Patrick's. But I remember as a young lad swimming in open water competition, and I was second, and I remember that. I remember that, you know. But I will go a little bit further than how far you go, and I would say that I'm going to say I'm going to work with St. Patrick's because you know I'm from St. Patrick's. St. Patrick's could have their own St. Patrick's team for football. Then you have our under 19 team. Then you have our under 14 team. Then you go to netball. You have the same thing. You have a senior team and then you have a junior team. Do the same thing with cricket. You have a senior team, you have a junior team. Basketball, junior team, senior team for both men and women. So there's a lot of sport that can be done, and I do have a proposal that I was working on that, because I think that that's how you keep the sport going. That's how you keep the youth involved, and that's the key thing, because there is nothing for them to do. There's absolutely nothing for them to do. So if there is multiple things for them to do and they can get involved, and not only for within the parishes, within your parish, but going outside of the parishes and going against other, and that could be a 1-year competition. You could play one team 4 or 5 times. You could keep going. You keep playing the sport and stay active. And then, like you said, there is this bragging rights. You have this big trophy that is a showcase, and then you have it, and the next year. So I think it can work. But
when I thought about it, I looked at it as something that can evolve and can conclude around, and that's just the thoughts in my mind, right? I mean, it's not anything in stone. I was saying, like, for example, independence, you know, it can conclude around independence, you know, something like that. So, or start around independence, some things to that sort. But it
Something
brings
when there's a major
right,
something going on, including
right.
like Easter weekend, a big Easter finals,
Yeah.
or
It brings a yeah,
certain things. It could be anything.
yeah.
Even dealing with Christmas, a final during Christmas time, a final during certain things, and certainly even during the carnival time, you could have one final then
Well,
because your foreigners is home, and at the
well,
time you find the most foreigners coming home, and that could
well,
be a big finals then
well,
too.
talking about that, and it's one of the things I've been saying that Grenada is one of the islands in the Caribbean, and few I would say that when it comes to Christmas or the Christmas period, you don't really have many sporting activities. In fact, you go on a hold for a while. Even the program, we have to take a little relax for a while. But in North America, for example, basketball, and I mean, you have your classics, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's a family treat on Christmas Day to be watching whether it's a basketball game or NFL or something like that sort.
No,
Um,
most definitely. But
in the
even look at this
Caribbean,
now. Let
in the
me show you this
Caribbean,
now.
and in the Caribbean, just thing there, we have what
Yeah,
we call Boxing Day Classics, for example.
yeah,
Boxing Day
yeah,
Classic racing, right?
yeah.
And
They have
I
some.
remember there was a year when Mr. Chenny Joseph was president of the FA. He tried to bring back something as a Boxing Day Classic in terms of football, which is basically like a family event because in Grenada, Boxing Day, everyone wants to go on the beach. Everybody just
Yeah,
going on the beach. And you say, hey, listen, you could make it into a family activity, a family event. Bring something to the family. It doesn't have to be a party. Everything for people is a party, a party, a
I
party.
say the same thing. Everything,
Yeah,
and,
my thing is that
especially now when almost every field now have lights. Not all,
yeah,
but most of
yeah,
them. If you want to do a
yeah,
leg game, you could have a
you
leg game.
you
Like
can
you
have
know,
you can have you can have a Boxing Day activity, a
yeah,
family activity,
yeah.
right? Have something that the family can come out and be part of. I also made mention of what I noticed happening. Let me see. What I noticed happening of recent is that, as I was saying, everyone wants to go down when you're in the United States. You want to go down to the South, right? Florida, blah blah, things like that. I realized that in Grenada, no offense to you, Rudy, and I know you're a Northern guy, St. Patrick guy. There's a lot happening in the South, in terms of sports. By the way, that's what I'm talking about. There's a transformation, and I was just looking at some of the postings and things, and I realized that a lot of clubs, organizations, I should say, sorry, are being formed, and some that were there before and dormant are now being revived. And it appears that there's a new um, interest in reviving sport in the south of the island. As whole transformation in terms of sports, which augurs well as far as I'm concerned. And I would like to see that repeated in other parts of the island. Um, and get a whole vibe again once for sports, I, and sports at the community level. You know, sports at the community level. I think that is important. We talk a lot about grassroots. Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
Introducing the kids and thing early to various sporting disciplines and thing. But I believe that we also have to side by side have sports at the community level. Gone are the days where you don't have a cricket match, for example, in Union, or in Tilleries, Moncton, these sort of places. For to see a cricket match, you have to go to Progress Park, and things like that. So you need to have more of the sporting activities at the community level. And as we said, a lot of the fields are not lighted and things like that. So there's no reason why you cannot have these activities there. Toro said that forgetting table tennis, Carnage table tennis players like Charlie Hood and Garth George and Zach Code and Wendell Thomas. Yeah, the Thomas brothers. Yeah. And we also had long ago, before Bass and Rudy and were born, former prison commissioner Ben Roberts used to host a New York day of activity on the Carnage. I think with a New Year day of activity on the Carnage that included boxing, swimming, and climbing the Greasy Pole. I remember the Greasy Pole. Yeah, I remember the Greasy Pole. And things like that. So Ben Roberts, by the way, That was the father of Paul Roberts. Yeah, Ben Roberts. Yeah, the father of Paul Roberts. And yeah, so you used to have this boxing and swimming and climbing the greasy pole. Yeah, remember that. And these are the sort of things that we need to get back into the communities. And I think once you do that, you'll be encouraging the passion for sports, you know, as spectators as well as participants, you know, and that's what I think is very important.
And it's not only going to be have to be a season thing; it's an ongoing thing. And a lot of time growing up, it used to be season. When football season, everybody playing football. When basketball season, everybody's in basketball. But if we have this type of event, it's going to be ongoing. You know, not only going to be in season. And if it's in time and it's going good, next thing you know, parishes could be in a position where they could start paying players when they play. A little funding could come in it if it's properly done and if they get proper funding in due time. But we could do something. We could have our own thing. Um, the rest of the big countries is doing it. What's stopping us from doing it? No other places is doing their own thing. What's stopping us from doing it? So so yes, it can be done. It can be done. But they gotta want to do it. You have to have the right people who have the passion, people who's not there for position, people who really wants to do it, and it can be done. And we have too many people now who wants to be in certain place for position, and that is truly a problem. So you have to want to do it. Um, Even when it's not working the way you want to work in it, you have to grind on. You have to stay with it until you get it to where you want it to go, and not give up or just be there and just stagnate and you can move. Nothing is happening. And you're just there to say, oh, I'm the president of this. Oh, I'm this. I'm the secretary of this. And then nothing is being done. So you have to have people who have the passion, have the drive, and want to see things going. And people who love sports, not just,
Yeah. Well,
I like it today and I don't like it tomorrow. Like, no, you
yeah,
got
and
to love it, you know? So,
I think something like that too will push, you know, some of our sports administrators to start working, you know, and it's not just having an activity, having just waiting until every year to host something for a week or 2 weeks, and then looking to send a team to represent Grenada in some regional tournament and thing like that. So, no, I don't think that's how it should be working. For example, I mean, I don't know what is happening in volleyball, for example, at the national level. You know, um, I tried to get some information regarding volleyball a few weeks ago. I was promised that your mic, Rudian, yeah. I was promised that I will, I will get the information, but I haven't been able to ascertain anything as yet. And I think things like that so will ensure that, these national associations are held accountable and will probably be pushed to do things. Julian?
yeah, and it could be a helpful tool as well in terms of you could be all of the age of 20 and still could get a scholarship. You don't have to be 18. You could be 20 and still have the opportunity. And those sports can open up doors for a lot of these young athletes who have the passion, who have the drive, and who is very talented to also get scholarships, especially in football and in track and field. Because they'll be hoping that you could add more events. You could have relay meets in everywhere. If you have a track and field program, it doesn't have to be having a full program going on, but you could have just today is going to be 100 and 400, especially in sports. And we do it out here. We don't have to have all the events at one time, but we have different events. So it's same thing going on with the football. Same thing going on with and netball don't really have this scholarship opening, but they are opening now for you to go to Jamaica and play. Since now they're looking to run international games.
Yeah,
And,
but that may be way off in terms of that. But I think the idea is to have our sportsmen and sportswomen participating. Okay, that's the important thing. Yeah, the whole issue of the scholarships and thing may chip in at some point in time, but it's not so much looking to get that, but to ensure that they participate. I know, for example, I will probably share it with you. The Bahamas have what they call the Bahamas Games, something similar, but because they have it's among the islands, that's how it is. Our thing is the parishes, right? They have a lot of islands, so it's bragging rights for the islands. So whether it's Carahoo, whether it's PD Martin, and then again, all the islands, they have the various facilities and things like that, you know. So they have something like that, and it's something that has been going on for many years, but they had stopped for a while, and then COVID, etc., etc. But I think they're thinking of getting it back and things like that. So, but it's something I think it's about 12 years ago, 10 or 12 years ago, I wrote something about that. I remember actually doing a presentation. I don't know if you remember that. I just said 10, 12 years ago to give the idea of it. And doing a presentation. At that time, it was dubbed what we call the constituency games. Constituency games. But I think parish would be a better thing instead of constituency, you know, because you may say constituency and it may be too political if people may think it like that. You know, it might get a bit too political. It shouldn't be that, but it may get too political. And especially where we have, you know, the political parties in Grenada, how they think sometimes. You know, you might say yes for now, and then one time, you know, I'm the MP for this constituency and I say no, and, you know, this sort of thing. So not, I think the parish at the parish level might be the best bet for now, you know. But when it was first conceptualized back then, it was on the level of the constituency. And I remember I still have my presentation somewhere there on my computer. I didn't have actual presentation for it and thing. But I said, after thinking about it, I put it to the stage of the parish, you know, and I think the parish would be the best. And in light of the proposed establishment of the parish sports councils, for example, we already have St. John's Parish Sports Council. We already, and by the way, St. John's Sports Council have been organizing sporting events at the parish level for a number of years. So they probably have a template as well. So it's just getting that on stream, and then at some level you have what you call the Inter-Parish Games. So St. John's will select their teams, and I say teams because it'll be a basket, whether it's, well, in this case, I'm just using whether the sporting discipline that you agree on. So whether it's football, cricket, whatever, so you select a cricket team is to represent the parish, you select a football team, you select blah, blah, blah. And then now it's organized in terms of a schedule, a fixture. Whether St. John playing St. Andrew in basketball, you know, Friday, and then Saturday is Carahoo versus St. David in cricket, you know, in Hillsborough. You know, I mean, and it goes over a period of time. At the end,
no, definitely. No, it has to be over a period of time.
Yeah, we have the
it has to be a time thing. Yeah, so
yeah,
and it could work. It could work. I believe it could work.
I'm telling you.
And the people, I believe the people will be for it. And then what we have to be important is that I know we're talking about it. We're hoping it happen, but you have to be from the parish. You can't. Yeah, we're going to say my God, but I live in St. Mark. No, you have to be from the parish.
Well, talking about it now, I mean, yeah, I mean, because you know, let me give you an example. When you look at, I remember that a year. There were, I think it was cricket, for example, and you had a number of guys who were playing for St. George's cricket team, and they were actually from St. Andrews, but they have been living in the parish for a number of years, you know, but they were originally from, and that's where they started playing cricket, you know. Steve Mahon, for example. Steve Mahon is from St. Andrews, but I mean, Steve Mahon has been living in St. George's for a number of years, probably more than 20, 30 years. And Steve Mahon playing cricket for clubs in St. George's, you know. But he started playing cricket when I know Steve Mahon, and Steve Mahon started playing cricket and youth cricket, all of that was from the parish of St. Andrew, you know. So you have a lot of situations where that, and I mean, even I could go even at the club level. Queen's Park Rangers, for example, and right now as it is, a number of folks playing for Queen's Park Rangers. Well, they probably grew up there to an extent, but even their parents and things, not originally from River Road. You know, they came down there. So that is okay. It's just like you are Canadian now, so that's okay. You know, you can represent Canada if you want. So we'll say, okay,
I
you have
I
you
I
have res-
I have
you
one
have
time, one time.
residency in whether it's St. Patrick or St. Andrew, but you're not originally from there. That's okay. You know, you can represent the parish. We won't have a situation where a man will just pick up because he want to
Yeah,
represent. He know he cannot make, let's say, St. Patrick team, and he could be a walk-on
pick
on
up
St.
and
George's
go
team.
somewhere
He'll
else.
pick
Yeah,
up and go and say, no, no, no. That wouldn't be the case, you know, because you know it'll be tough to get on, let's say, to the St. Patrick football team. But he may be a walk-on St. David, for example, because they say,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
you know, I mean, come on, you know, yeah, let's take them on, you know, and things like that. No, no. So there'll be rules. There'll be rules
But no, I
and
think it's something
guidelines.
that could happen. I think something that can work. It's such a good idea. Like I said, I've been thinking about this for quite a while. I'll go as far as saying, like I said, I always think about St. Patrick's. We have two schools, two high schools in St. Patrick's. They can also do a bragging rights. Them two schools can play against each other and have a specific time in this year when they have one specific games they want to play. The women choose one and the men choose one, and that's a bragging right until the next year come about. All the parish don't have two schools, but I was just when I thought about that, I was thinking about St. Patrick's at the time, right? So it's certainly
Well,
something good, and to keep sports alive. I truly believe that's something that can keep sports alive in Grenada. Truly.
I'm looking at Roger's comments there, and he's saying, trying to figure out which parish I must represent. Grew up in Dwarf, which is St. John, married and lived in Grenville, St. Andrew, for over a decade, and now built and reside in St. David. Well, represent in terms of participation might be an issue, but in supporting, you can support all of them, and you can choose which sport you support in for which parish. So when it comes to St. John, you can say probably they have a better chance of winning basketball. You can say that. Um, you married and lived in St. Andrew for over a decade. You can say probably track and field. And then you can say, when it comes to St. David, probably I'll support them with cricket, you know. So you can make a choice, Roger. But I know it's a tough one. Toro says, yes, it's hard putting Grenadians in a box geographically. Our population movement is pretty fluid. River Road and Dabo, for example, were highly populated through internal migration from north to south. Yeah. And yeah. And even the south, whether it's the Limes and place Grandans and these places too. You have a lot of folks who came from other parts and living down there for a while. And they're living there because it's easy access for them to work and things like that. So not to say they have given up, back their roots from whether it's St. Patrick or St. Andrew. But in terms of working, it's easier for them, and they have been residing there, and things like that. So yes, point well taken, Toro. But I think on a serious note, is something we can further develop and talk about, and I'm hoping that with the progress being made with the parish sports councils and the national sports council, this could be one of the things that we can discuss further. By the way, I this week brought to an end the various consultations. They ended in Pity Martinique. Well, they had it originally for about 2 weeks ago, but I think it was due to bad weather. They had put it off, and they had it just what it was. Pity Martinique was the last. So now they're in the process, from what I heard, of getting things together, and they will have one final national consultation, because they had the parishes, no, okay, including the diaspora. Now they have a national consultation. This is where everyone can be part of now. You'll hear probably the inputs from the various parishes and things. And I think it will be open up. They will have live streaming and things like that, so we'll be able to participate and listen or watch or whatever it is like that. So that is what I understood, that it will be a live event. So it's just a matter of getting the date and thing like that. So on the time, and for those who can make it, the venue, most likely maybe at probably the national stadium and things like that. So that's what I can tell you about when it comes to that. Folks, remember, World Cup football kicks off on Sunday. For the next few weeks, I know a lot of guys will have problems with their wives and things like that. So, I know it's an issue. It's that time of, well, not this time of the year, but that period when it comes to football.
Football.
And
who is your team?
It's every 4 years. So, I mean, I hope they will be, they'll be accommodative. I'm not.
Who is your team?
I'm about to answer you. I'm saying I'm not the type who will go early because I can tell you, I may have said, for example, at the T20 World Cup, West Indies was my team. West Indies didn't make it out of the group, but I have some favorites, I have some favorites. I always, I mean, can't take it away. I think Brazil will always go in as a favorite. I see some people saying Argentina and Brazil into a final. I will have Brazil as a favorite among, in terms of the European. I just love the Spanish, and Portugal. I'm not sure whether or not in terms of Africa, the team I have in mind there, and I break it up in regions, right? I have Ghana as one of those teams that can, really, I think they have it. They have what it takes, I should say. And that's just my belief. But then again, let's see what happens coming out of the first round. Okay, and then we can start seeing what it is. I know Toro may be a bit disappointed I didn't mention Canada or the United States. I am, by the way, I wouldn't be surprised. When you look at the groups, you can basically see to some extent which teams you believe
can make it out.
Make it out. Yes. But that is just on paper, right?
On paper.
There can be surprises because remember you're playing in a group phase.
In a group phase,
So supposing for your first game, you have a drawn game, 0-0, for example, or 1-0.
You're in trouble.
And then the next two teams, there's a victory for 3-1, blah blah blah. That kind of thing. So as you say, you're in trouble. These sort of things you have to look at. So I always try to see what the first few games look like from the group stage, and then you can start saying, "Hey, something."
And go from there.
This team look as one that I believe can.
Well, my top team on always been since I was a young lad, Argentina, always. Since I was a young lad, days of Batistuta, that was my team, and it's always been my team. But there's countries that I like, Belgium and the Netherlands. So
I had the Dutch football. But Brazil in particular, I said because
I was never a Brazil fan. Never.
Well, the Brazil for me was style of football. The style of football. But over years things have changed.
And
by the way, Germany.
There are so many questions now about the Brazilian team. You listen to a lot of the fans is not happy. They're not happy.
Yeah. Well, and when you look at previous World Cups, right? When you talk about the World Cup football, you can get probably, and you probably do just ask somebody who you support, and you will get probably 90% to 95% people going Brazil. These days, it's not. That's not the case, eh? You will hear all other teams.
Germany is always strong. Always.
Yeah, but I'm saying, the Germans are always. The Germans, they get into the semifinals and some semifinal and thing. You can, take the Germans out of that.
You can't rule them out. Yeah.
Moda is saying good choice, Rudy, because Moda said early up in the start of the program, right away, he said Argentina.
Okay, good. Moda, you're a good person. You're good. Yeah. We are good people.
And for folks that querying about I don't know if in Grenada, in your case, Roger, which of the stations have the rights. I saw certain television stations in the Caribbean posting the rights. Like for Trinidad, CNC3, Jamaica is CVM, you know. So I don't know for Grenada. And I don't know. I normally, if there's no rights holder for Grenada, then your cable station may have a thing that might be bringing it, you know. If there's a rights holder, I think normally they will, the cable station will have to block it out, you know. In the United States, I know Fox Sports, yeah, they have the rights. I don't know who they're sharing it with, but they have the rights. I know in South Africa, somehow I know for South Africa, Super Sports. Who it is in Canada?
I don't know who it is, but we have a team, so that means they have to be a lot of them have to be part of it.
Yeah.
I really don't know who is it, but I think a lot of them will get involved because Canada have a team.
Okay,
and
so
I know for sure Fox, for sure, because I know a lot of the, surprisingly, I believe, and I could be wrong, I think those basketball boys, Shaq and them guys, they are in Qatar covering the World Cup, which is quite strange, surprisingly. But I know Fox for sure.
yeah, well, I know. I'm told now that there's GBN, Grenada Broadcasting Network, have the rights for the rights in Grenada, GBN.
Yeah.
So it means that any of the channels on your cable station in Grenada that's showing it will be blocked, because once there's they have a rights holder in the country, they have the rights. So that's for those folks in Grenada. So GBN, so that's over the air, so there's no cable there. Yeah, that is what I know in terms of broadcast rights. Brazil used to be my team, but Brazil hasn't produced a good international team in donkey years. Two best footballers ever: Brazil's Pele and Argentina's Maradona. And you know, I think Brazil got its following from, you know, the Pele and others, and up to Neymar to an extent, but he has not been producing, right? And then Argentina up to the Messi, you know, and whether or not Messi will be able to produce, you know, and things like that. So, but let's see. Next week, God's willing, around also, we'll be talking. By the way, we'll be talking some cricket to an extent, but we'll be speaking to Andre Fletcher. He'll be live in Abu Dhabi. Yeah, he's participating in a cricket tournament over there, but he'll be speaking about a foundation that he is launching in Grenada to assist in the development of sports, particularly cricket. And I said particularly cricket because he's involved in cricket, but it's a sports foundation. That's by Andre Fletcher. So he'll be talking about that, but he will be in Abu Dhabi, you know, speaking about that. It will be, I think, the eve of his birthday. Yeah. No, it will be 2 days before his birthday. In fact, today is the eve of my birthday. You know. By the way, today, this month, I don't know if Rudy and I should tell you that, but this month is a very special month for a lot of friends, family, and friends. In fact, my family, just on a personal note, probably could be 60% of family members born in the month of November.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
This is a month for family reunion then.
So I had a cousin whose birthday was, I think, 2 days ago. One of my brother's birthday was yesterday.
Yeah, I saw you post that. Yeah.
My birthday, and I'm a twin, so it's two of us' birthday. It's tomorrow because we are twins, right? And then my wife's birthday is on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then my anniversary is on Wednesday. You know, so that I'm telling you, it's months of so many things. You know, right? Yeah, so many things. Wow. Let me get some information there. Congratulations. The Boxing Association of Grenada, Inc. says thank you for a successful local tournament. Next leg is Caribbean Boxing Championship. Plans are in motion for an active local calendar of events as we roll out the 5 years development plan.
Very good.
So from what I'm hearing now, based on that information, is that because I know the Boxing Association of Grenada Inc. Was trying to get they was trying to get participation in this regional tournament in Dominica next month. But because of what happened over the past few days regarding the Boxing Association of Grenada and the Boxing Association of Grenada Inc., left to see what will be the outcome, who will recognize who. And from this information I'm seeing there, it appears that the Caribbean Association, it appears to be recognizing the new association that was formed and will be accepting the boxers who are registered to participate. That's based on what I'm seeing there. And they are saying thank you for they're saying thank you for the support, etc., for the boxing transformation for boxing in Grenada. Okay, so Roger is saying that Odette, and that's Odette Campbell from GBN, confirmed that GBN will be bringing the tournament live. And things like that. So yep. So anything you have to say before we wrap up? Well,
yeah, definitely. I just wanted to I noticed that I see the other post. Mr. John is confirmed to signing with Ohio State.
Yeah, talk about that, please. Talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really wanted to hopefully, if his mom or his dad, even if he's on, to congratulate him. It is a phenomenal school. It's actually the second school when my my athlete went in the portal of the transfer school. They reach out, and she emailed them and tell them to talk to me. So I was talking with the coach, and she, it wasn't a school she ended up choosing, but it is a very good school, and Ohio State is my football school. So, definitely, I am really happy for him to take this other step in his career and getting into the Division One. And I think big things for him, and some great things will happen for him. So I'm very proud of him.
Yeah, well, I'm proud for some of the others, because I think there was one other athlete. There may be others.
Somebody is it Texas A&M?
I'm trying to remember that.
Yeah, I think some of them Texas A&M.
Some of them may have been, because remember, and you may be able to explain a little on that. You can commit and then you sign, right?
Yeah.
So you commit and then you sign.
And then you sign, yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's someone who was trying to remember. Oh, I think it's Gittens. His name is Brandon Gittens. He's a young guy. I think he signed on to one of those other universities for the spring of 2023, though. For the spring of 2023, yeah. So we want to wish him all the best, and I'm certain that will inspire others. And again, as we get ready to wrap up on that, is probably an encouragement to, and we know we have been speaking about that during the year, for thinking about possibly a relay team. We always saying that individually, we may not be able to get some of these athletes individuals to get medals, but I am certain, I'm telling you, I have full confidence. And I mean, Rudy, and we looking at the track and field, we're looking at the relay teams, we're looking at the possibilities of qualifying for whether it's the World Relays or the World Championships, the relay team, or even the Olympics.
Yeah.
And they always question why Grenada doesn't have a team there. You have X amount of quality runners,
athletes,
and you look at some of the countries with probably just one and in some cases, not even one that
Yeah.
could rank among what we have, and yet fall there.
I
I always
I
tell them,
always,
listen, the
yeah,
Bahamas won Olympic gold, World Championship gold, with athletes in relay teams that did not even rank in the top 10 at the time. They did not even rank in the top 10 at the time, and they won.
yeah.
Just remember that. Yes, just remember. So there's no reason why, we can't make the effort, and
No reason why.
it's all about planning, eh? We're saying it's about planning. If we don't plan,
It is. It is
yeah,
about planning. It
yeah,
is about planning. Yeah. I
yeah.
always believe that a mixed relay team is the one thing I think could be a key thing that we can have. It's funny because I was hoping that we get a chance to talk with the intercall commissioners, that I would ask that question. Can they add a mixed relay team, a mixed 4x4 into intercall?
Mhm.
I think it'll be something different, something new. I know, I understand GBSS and some of the all girls school. I get it. I understand that. But other schools have co-ed, and it'll be a fun thing for them to have in. And yeah, I think it'll be good because the world is leading towards that now.
Mhm.
The world is truly leading towards that, and we're seeing it with countries who don't. They're not even in the top 50
Well,
ranking.
that is one of the things I wanted to put to
Yeah,
the intercall committee, the folks at the
yeah. I
intercall
wanted to
committee,
ask that question, but
in terms
unfortunately,
of
yeah,
yeah, I tried to get
yeah.
those guys. I've been trying to get them for a while now, but hopefully I get them before the end of the year. Well, not, I think most likely be in the new year. Hopefully in the new year, because as I said, we have we have uh, Andre Fletcher next weekend, God's willing, to talk about the Sports Foundation. Albeit he'll be over in a tournament in Abu Dhabi. And then Dwayne Gill will come to give us a wrap on cricket. And remember, Dwayne is also a director of Cricket West Indies.
Yeah.
So, Dwayne, I'm letting you know that when you come to speak, even though you're speaking as president of the Grenada Cricket Association, you also are director of West Indies Cricket, and you also involved in Windward's Cricket, the Volcanoes,
Yeah.
So you have to
Interesting.
talk.
Very
You'll have to
interesting.
talk a lot,
Yeah, yeah.
But
Very
that's the
interesting.
following. That's the following Saturday, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I also got a message there where we may have at some point the MP for South St. George. I think he wants to come and speak about the sports in the
Okay.
constituency,
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, I'm open to anyone who wants to come and speak about sports in at what level, whatever it is, sports. We're
Yeah.
talking sports and how we can transform the lives, of it. Finally, Roger Duncan said the Boxing Association saga is upsetting, to say the least. Why can't big macho people sit and resolve this urgently? The real beneficiaries of this sport, our children, are the ones suffering. Really, people, fix it. But from what we've seen there, it appears, just assuming that things may, a little glimmer of hope on the horizon. Let's hope so. I'm just
Going to the right
hoping
direction.
that
Yeah.
there's because I was concerned about the participation of those boxers in the tournament. Because remember, when we had them last, well, you were not at the program, but when we had the boxers there, they were saying basically that the existing association, well, the other side, was telling the boxers, do not participate in the tournament. If they participate, they will be sanctioned. They will not be able to represent Grenada, etc., etc. Now we're hearing that the Caribbean Boxing Association, whatever, who's organizing the tournament in Dominica, apparently has invited the boxers to participate through the invitation of the Boxing Association of Grenada Incorporated, which is a new association. So I'm just waiting to see what will come out of that. But there's a lot of lingering. When I'm finished with the program, I'm getting on the phone to get some clarity on what exactly has transpired over the past 24 hours. So, Rudian, all the best. By the way, what it is like, I know Buffalo is under lots of
Oh my
snow.
goodness. We had snow during the week or last week. We're a lot better now, but we expect snow by the end of the week. But what Buffalo is getting 6 feet or 5 feet of snow, I mean, when they call for the state of emergency, that says a lot about snow.
Yeah, well,
And that's a
yeah.
lot of snow in Buffalo,
Yeah,
like
well,
literally.
a state of emergency in Buffalo, you know that is problems,
That's problem.
because
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely, it's problem.
snow is like every day to them,
Yeah.
But when
And
they,
I'm worried, and
yeah,
I'm really worried in a sense when Buffalo is so close to us, like literally right there. You throw a stone over, you could get into Buffalo. That it could transfer and come over to us soon.
yeah,
Yeah, that's the worrisome part. But so far we are okay. It is a bit chilly outside, but it's winter. We're in the winter season, and winter is cold. There is no hot winter. So you gotta take it as it go.
yeah,
But so far it's not bad.
yeah. Well, I know, and it's
Yeah.
and for you folks, I think it's a good opportunity where you have your chocolate, your hot chocolate, and your
Oh,
whatever it is, and your blanket, and your TV, and you're watching your you're watching your football, right? Yeah,
oh, definitely.
yeah.
That's what's gonna happen with a lot of those people out here for the next little while. Especially like I said, Canada making it in. It's like the whole country is watching football, and I remember where I was. I mean, I was not we. I don't call it where the stock market is, but for Canada, in that area on Bay Street,
Mm.
there is an underground mall, a big mall, and I know they put a big TV up, and they just have chairs and stuff, and just when people passing by, they're just watching football. It's always interesting to see the love for football when the World Cup come around. Everybody is friends and family, especially the Italians and the Spanish and the Brazilian. Everybody come together and and watch especially the finals. If one of the country people is in the finals, their area is full with people. They got little Italy or Greek town or this town. It just crazy out here.
You
So
believe you
it's
believe
interesting.
you believe that just as how the Canadians grew onto TV for hockey, let's say in especially at the Olympics, that that may be the case for the guys at the World Cup this time around.
Yeah, yeah. The trophy was here in Toronto because I think they're doing a world tour to head into Qatar.
They normally do a
And
world
I
tour.
mean the turnout was unbelievable for people to see the trophy because you got to understand we are a multicultural nation.
Yeah, that's
We have
true.
somebody from every single in
Every
terms of the
yeah,
Spanish and the Greek and the Italians and the Brazilian. They all here, and especially if you speak Spanish language, you won. You're Brazilian, you're Portuguese, you everything falls in one when it comes to the finals. If one of this team is in the finals. So it's interesting, but it'll be fun.
yeah,
Canada, um, the fans here support him because they lives in Canada. So you
mhm,
have outside people coming in and
mhm.
get involved. But it's going to be as big, not necessarily as big as hockey, but if Canada make it far, that's what's going on. If Canada is in the game, that's what's happening. So you are going to find people watching the Canadian game because Canada is playing. Just like the women's soccer, the fans are just as big for that. So it'll be good. But when we talk about group stage, I am looking forward to see what the US can do. Um, and I believe the US definitely could come out from the group. Definitely, I think they can come out from the group. So we will see that. But like I said, let's see what happens. But the group they're in don't look that strong, and I think Canada probably could win a game or maybe two based on the group
Mhm.
they're in. But let's see what happens. It'll be nice just to win a game, um, and that will be a fun thing. Even to score a goal, that will be a good thing too because that will rise the country up. But it is good to see where we are for a
All right.
country like this and getting that far.
So it kicks off tomorrow with the home team, the host Qatar playing
Yeah,
Ecuador
yeah,
from 11 a.m. Eastern time. Yeah, which is 12 noon in the
yeah.
Eastern Caribbean. And then and then on Monday we have three games on Monday. As early as 8 o'clock,
In the mood, yeah,
England versus Iran, and then at 11 a.m., Senegal, by the way, that's another African team, good football, playing Netherlands, right? That's your Dutch people coming in there.
yeah.
And then also on Monday afternoon from 2 o'clock, USA versus Wales. right?
Yeah, and I
So
think that's a win for USA. However,
I
Wales
win, you
is
say?
just as good. Wales is good. Listen, if you make the World Cup, you have to be pretty good to make it in.
Yeah.
You have to go through some teams. You don't just make it like that. You have to go through some teams. Um, Canada
But,
make it through going through
but
some of the.
Canada's first game
Yeah,
is on Wednesday against Belgium.
what's
I
yeah,
think two,
yeah.
2 o'clock in the afternoon. So yeah,
So it'll be interesting.
yeah,
Um,
right.
it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Yeah.
All right then. So take care,
Next
Rudy, and
week,
all the best.
hopefully next week in the end, we have a 15 minutes to talk about what's going on in the World Cup and how some teams
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
so
yeah.
far.
No, no,
So
no. Well,
yeah,
that's the part of it because I because of the time difference
yeah,
in
yeah.
Abu
Time
Dhabi,
difference. Yeah,
Andre wouldn't be able to stay for the entire.
that might be that. Yeah,
And he's playing cricket, so he says no problem, and yeah. So
yeah.
we'll use to because by then we should have an idea
An idea
of
of yeah.
who who's probably going out, who's
And
going
who's
out,
staying in?
and who's
Who's going
staying
home
in.
early?
Yeah, who's
Yeah.
going up early.
Qatar don't have to go far. They're home already.
Well,
So,
yeah, they're home. They're home already. Yeah, but all the best, though. Thanks very much. We'll do that.
all right.
Yeah.
Have a good
All
one.
right then.
Thanks for having
Take
me
care.
on, man.
Yeah. All right then. No
All
problem.
right.
Okay, folks. So that's Rudian live in Toronto, Canada. A very cold. Yes, cold. And I know it's cold because Toro is giving a lot of trouble. It's cold. Um, yeah. But Toro, yeah, I believe, and it's because probably they have the media. They have the media, USA and England, and yeah, they have the media supporting them. So every time we turn on, it's some feature on the USA, whether it's the goalkeeper, whether it's this person and that person and thing, and I think you're correct about that. Overrated a bit. Now England, yeah, we coming in the midst of the Premier League and things like that. So everyone was focused probably up to a week ago on Premier League, and then the focus now is those players now in the World Cup. So yeah, to an extent, and things like that. So a bit overrated. I would agree. But again, as I said, we can look for what's coming out of the group. If I can just get you again. So Qatar playing Ecuador from 11 o'clock Eastern time, which is 12 o'clock Eastern Caribbean time on Sunday. That's the opening game. So one game on the opening. And then on Monday, there are 3 games on Monday with as early as 8 o'clock. You have England versus Iran. And by the way, the time I'm giving you is Eastern time, right? 8 o'clock. England versus Iran. 11 o'clock is Senegal against the Netherlands. And then from 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's USA versus Wales. And on Tuesday, the first game starts as early as 5 o'clock in the morning. 4 games on, 5 o'clock in the morning. Argentina versus Saudi Arabia. Then at 8 o'clock, Denmark versus Tunisia. And 11 o'clock, Mexico versus Poland. And then from 2 o'clock, France versus Australia. Yep. So lots of football on, fans. This week, going down all the way. Let me see on Saturday when the program actually 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and then from 2 o'clock, Argentina versus Mexico. Yeah. Let's say 2 o'clock. No, the program will finish by then. Because, yeah, the program will finish by then. So we'll be within the France versus Denmark game. France versus Denmark game, we'll be talking. Yes, folks. So thanks very much for being company. Toro, Mona, always a pleasure. Roger, thank you. Yeah, thanks for the birthday greetings as well. Theo, and all those who made it possible. I want to thank you. Oh, earlier I can't forget my good friend Donna Joseph, and Inspector Alan James, and then thanks very much for being part of the program. And Coco Shot, don't forget. Kelvin Hector, don't forget. Have it on your mind. You have to link up sometime in the new year to talk a little about what happened to sports in the Northwest, particularly football. They can't let that go. They can't give it up yet, boy. Can't give it up yet. Thank you very much, folks. Once again, invitation is yours to join me again on Saturday, God's willing, from 12 o'clock Eastern time, which is 1 o'clock Eastern Caribbean time, for another in a program. Our guest on the program will be Andre Fletcher. We'll be talking about the Sports Foundation and then get into the World Cup. By then, we'll be looking a little more about the World Cup football. Yeah, we'll be reviewing some of the matches played and what lies ahead. Okay? So I'm looking forward to your company again come next Saturday, God's willing. Boss, you really Toro, come on, Toro. Yeah, I will go with that, Toro. Yeah, I will go with that. Yeah. Really does back West Indies to win competition. You have your belly, man. Go Canada, go. Yeah, I think I ain't giving up on the West Indies, man. I ain't giving up with West Indies. Yeah, I ain't giving up. Thank you, folks. All the best. And see you next Saturday, same time. God's blessing. Until then, have yourself a pleasant weekend.